The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
So hello and welcome to another episode of the Star Sport podcast. I'm your host Matthew Hurley and I'm joined today, as always, by Star Sport editor Liam MacCarthy. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose credit union, choose local, choose community. Now this week we will be joined by Saoirse McCarthy as she and her Cork teammates prepare for the All-Ireland Camogie semi-final against Waterford in Nowlan Park, Kilkenny this weekend. But first, unfortunately, we do have to start off on a disappointing note. The Cork hurlers lost the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship final 327 to 118 against Tipperary after a second half where Tipperary outscored Cork 3 goals and 14 points to 2 points. It's Wednesday now, Kieran. I was saying earlier in the week, I couldn't comprehend what had happened on Monday on my own social media. I still can't comprehend what happened, to be honest with you. It was one of those experiences that you don't actually know what went on in that second half. Obviously, it's very, very disappointing for the players, very disappointing for Pat Ryan. It was just a very disappointing weekend overall for everyone involved with Cork hurling.
Yeah, it's almost hard to know what to say about that performance. Like, it's almost apt to match it that we're wearing black today, because it almost feels like it's been a funeral the last couple of days in terms of the Cork hurlers and their hopes going into that game. It's just so disappointing, just incredibly disappointing for that group of players to give that performance on the big day. It looked like everything was kind of pointing towards a glorious day for Cork hurling in that 20-year wait, get Liam MacCarthy Cup back on Lee's side, but there was no fairy tale ending here. In fact, the fairy tale into an absolute nightmare, because that second half performance will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. To lead by 6 points at half-time, having not played well, and then to lose by 15, like, that's a 21-point turnaround. That's unheard of, like, especially at senior inter-county level. I've never seen something like that before in terms of at that level, on that stage, just to see just such a turnaround, and to see a team like what happened to that Cork team in the second half. Like, it's a collapse that we can analyse and try and figure out what went wrong. And okay, talk about the Tipperary sweeper and talk about kind of Patrick Horgan's missed free early in the second half that could have pushed 7 ahead. But they're all moments within a game, but it just, for whatever reason, it just wasn't meant to be Cork's day. And it's just in kind of I suppose for the players and management first off, and also for the fans, just really was a day to forget.
It was really, and like, the first half was so positive. Like, we were talking amongst ourselves about the sort of Star Sport group chat as well, that Shane Barrett was performing well, Dermot Healy was performing well. They were 116 to 13 points up at halftime without playing particularly to their best of standards.
Yeah.
And then in the second half, Hockey missed a free, obviously. Probably would have expected him to convert it the way he's been going throughout his whole career. There is, obviously, hindsight's a beautiful thing. A lot of people might have said Declan Dalton should have took that free, but look, that's in the past now. And then Tipperary scored them points, and as soon as John McGrath gets the first goal, and then the whole tower starts to collapse in many ways. Owen Downey gets sent off for a second yellow card. Straight afterwards, Darren McCarthy scores the penalty. And from then on, really, Kieran, realistically, after Darren McCarthy's goal, the second goal for Tipperary, it was game over, wasn't it?
It was, and that's kind of, I was talking to a couple of people since, and that's almost one of the, like, there's so many disappointing aspects to that second half performance, but like, you hate to talk, you're talking about senior to county players, like, they give so much to the game, obviously to the cause. They have to play at that level, but there just seemed to be like this lack of fight. I don't know what it was. Like that game felt over with 10, 15 minutes to go. Like, and that's incredible to say that about an All Ireland kind of an All Ireland final, especially in a hurling game where games can change like that. Games aren't over to the last couple of minutes, like we've seen it this year. Kind of some epic games. So for that feeling of inevitability around that second half, it's kind of it's really damning on that Cork performance. Like you mentioned, on Saoirse McCarthy put away that penalty. Like there really was only one winner there, but I said earlier there was kind of moments and decisions like should don't even take it off by then. He was only yellow from the first half. Kind of it's little things like that. What actually sticks in my mind is I was watching it at home, Matthew. I was obviously you were up in Croke Park, but there was they showed an image in the second half of the Cork management team huddled together on the sideline, almost trying to figure out what's going wrong here and how the hell can we solve it. And it just stuck in my mind because you're thinking this is the big day, the big stage, and you're having this kind of this 5 or 6 minds coming together to try and solve a problem, and it just there was no solutions. There really was no solutions on the day. But I just think it's a performance that will kind of I'm not going to say it's going to haunt these Cork players, but it'll just stay with them for a bit because it was so poor. It was just such a poor performance on the big day. And like I said earlier, like this felt like it was just all building up into just quite a special moment, and then for Cork to fall flat like they did in that second half, it'll take a while to get over it. Because if you go back to last year, losing after extra time by Clare by a point, like you could accept that, because that was heroic, as in kind of battle, could have won the game, didn't, and you kind of felt for the lads, and it was like, Christ, that was a tough one to take. But there's an entirely different feel about this. Obviously, you feel for the hurlers, kind of like nobody wants to see a team lose like that. But the manner of the defeat, it's completely opposite to what it was last year in terms of like the Cork were just blown away last Sunday.
Yeah, they were in fairness, like in all aspects. Like I think Tipp turned over the ball a certain amount, I think over 30 times from puckouts and from open play, and they got 3-12 off that in the second half. It was just the Cork were winning the puckouts, but then as soon as Tipp got the ball, like they were inviting Cork down to alleys. Then the ball was turned over, obviously, for 2 of the goals. Owen Connolly whipped the long ball into the square to cause consternation. John McGrath got joy off both of them, one for a penalty and one for a flick beyond Collins into the net as well. So, and then the sweeper, the way the Cork didn't probably deal with that fast enough in many ways. Brian O'Mara played a brilliant job at doing that for Tipperary throughout the game. But from a Cork point of view, it was almost like once John McGrath scored the first goal to make it 118 to 116, they just didn't have the ability to mix it. They didn't have the ability to change up, to change tactics once things were starting to go by the wayside. That would probably be the most, obviously they are amateur athletes and you have to take that into account as well. But for a decision not to be made at that particular point as well, that was quite concerning. As you mentioned, in a final, in one of the biggest days of all.
Exactly, yeah. It's just those, like I said, there was that feeling of inevitability, sorry, in that second half, and just Cork just couldn't stop that sea of blue coming towards them. Kind of it was so one-sided the second half, and all those little moments that you just know it's at your day, like kind of obviously shots off the crossbar, shots hitting the post, penalty saved, all these little moments that they're all little parts of the jigsaw, and you build that jigsaw, and it's like you realize it's just not going to be your day. Like it's just I don't know if people believe stuff are written in the stars, but look at like Darren McCarthy's redemption arc. From that day up in Park Equive when he's sent off at the very, very start, and he comes down and he scores 113 in an All-Ireland final. Like it's just like he's only 19 years of age. Like that's an incredible story for him. And you were hoping that the incredible stories would be about Cork. Like you mentioned Hoggy earlier, Patrick Horgan, like kind of 37 years of age, 18 years playing for the Cork senior team, missed out on that All-Ireland. Like it was meant to be the day when Hoggy got the Celtic Cross that he has deserved for what he's given. But so sport's not like that. There's no guarantees in sports, and it's just there's a lot for this team to kind of comprehend now, and just and even just to kind of wrap their heads around what happened, because there would be that kind of feeling of shell shocked, But if we're being like honest here, Matthew, too, and like we were very kind of for glowing at the Cork hurlers in the last couple of weeks, and rightfully so, because winning Munster for the first time in 2018, winning the league title for the first time in a long time, obviously beating Limerick in that Munster final, hammering Dublin, like they're all kind of signs that this Cork team are moving in the right direction. But I presume there's also signs that we probably overlooked too. If you go back to that first game against Clare, giving up a 12-point lead against Clare, in that Munster opener, drawing that game, the round robin game against Limerick, Cork were 15 points down at half time and lost by 16. I know we've had that second half performance, so there is form there for Cork to kind of fall off a cliff as such in halves. We've seen it now 3 times this year, and I think that's the worry going into next season, that the opposition will know that too. Kind of the opposition know that there's a fragility kind of to this Cork team, because happens once, okay, happens twice. It's happened 3 times in the one season where Cork have a disastrous halves of hurling. Like that can't be coincidence, and that's something that needs to be ironed out, because we know that Cork have the hurlers. We've seen that when they're allowed to play, but when the pressure was put on in those couple of games, like you mentioned earlier, the tower crumbled. Kind of the players for whatever reason just buckled, and I think that's something that'll have to be addressed going into next year, because Cork aren't too far away. They showed it this year; they're not too far away from the top prize, but sometimes that last step is probably the hardest one to take.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe one more question in regards to the game, or in regards to the 2026 season in some ways. Pat Ryan's term as Cork senior hurling manager is up. His 3-year term, obviously, 2 All-Ireland finals, and there is some obvious progress shown with the Cork hurling team. They are genuine All-Ireland contenders despite what happened last Sunday. You look at some of the players as well, Seamus Harney, Conor Lehan, even though they're still about 33, 34, there might be question marks on Damien Callan, of course, is 33. Hoggy, of course, 37, he'll be 38 next season. What's your thoughts on those? Like, do you think we've seen the last of those sorts of players, and potentially Pat Ryan?
Just felt they shouldn't rush into any kind of rash decisions now, kind of with the hurt and pain of Sunday. Like it's good in a sense that the county championships are football starting this weekend, and then hurling kind of shortly after that, so the players can go back into their clubs and back into those kind of familiar surroundings, and just kind of get back kind of playing hurling with their friends they've grown up with. Like, and I think that's the great thing about the GA, that you have that kind of that healing process will take place for players while they're surrounded by the fellas that they're going up with, and get those fellas back hurling and get them back playing hurling with a smile on their face. Regards decisions over retirements, kind of that's for a lot of those players that they have to think about whether they're willing to go again next season. I would say I don't think any player would like to go out on that note. Kind of you don't want that to be your final game, kind of especially that second half. And regarding Pat Ryan, that man has done incredible things for where he's taken this Cork hurling team. He's taken them right to the brink of the ending the 20-year wait for the Liam MacCarthy. Like this year alone, Cork have won the Munster title, they won the league title, they got the back-to-back All-Irelands. As disappointing as last Sunday was, Cork are not too far away either, and that is the reality of it. There's something missing. There's a reason why Cork have lost the last 2 All-Ireland finals. There's a reason they've lost, you could say, obviously 3 since 2020, 2021, and 5 in a row now at this stage. But there's a reason for that. It's just trying to find that reason and trying to find a solution for it. And whether Pat Ryan thinks he's the man to do that or not, that's entirely up to him. But he should be left to make that decision. Like, I know his term is up now, but the county board, I hope, will be saying to him, as in, Pat, go away, take some time to reflect, and we'll follow your lead here. Because I think if Pat Ryan wants to come back in again, I think, Jesus, yeah, as in, because with this group, what he's done, but it's just whether he wants to do it or not, and just that bit of time. I think that bit of time will just kind of give everyone a bit of perspective, just to see that, as horrible as last Sunday was, it's not the end of the world either. There's another season. Like the calendar always turns, kind of we're into the club championships now, and that's going to take over. That's going to be the narrative for the next couple of months. And all of a sudden, then in October, you're kind of looking at the Munster Club series, and then all of a sudden, then it's talking about the league coming up, and it starts again, and you have that kind of that enthusiasm and that kind of anticipation. Like I'm talking as a Man United fan now, Matthew is in each summer, like the last 10 years when it's inside in the summer. I'm like, Christ, yeah, maybe next season won't be that bad, get a couple of players in and kind of bit of freshness and we go again, Maybe using United as an example for the Cork hurlers isn't great because United have been tripe now for a good few years, but it just shows, kind of just the journey will continue. The kind of calendar keeps pushing on, so it'd be interesting to see what's next. But time is so important here.
Exactly so, and it isn't the time to make rash decisions, obviously, and hopefully Pat will take his time over the decision. It is a difficult defeat to take, but it obviously was a difficult All-Ireland final experience for the Cork team. But on a side note, congratulations to Tipperary, All-Ireland champions for the 29th time. And by the clips on social media, by those going around, I think they enjoyed it. So congratulations to Tipperary on the victory. As Kieran did mention, the club championships do start this weekend. They've gone under the radar because of the All-Ireland hurling final, obviously. But the Cork Premier Senior Football Championship starts this weekend, and we have a lot of games to look at. So look at the Premier Senior Football Championship first. Looking from West Cork point of view, in Group 1, you have Castlehaven, Mallow, Valley Rovers and Newcestown. The first round games in that group is Newcestown against Valley Rovers. That's on Saturday at 5:30 in Kilmurray. And Castlehaven going for 3 in a row of county championship titles. They face Mallow in their opener in Ovens on Saturday at 7:30. So I suppose Castlehaven is the headline fixture there, Kieran, facing against a difficult enough Mallow side that do have some inter-county players like the likes of Sean McDonald and Matty Taylor and Shane Merritt and all them. Castlehaven will have their big guns back. I'm not sure about Jamie Callahan. Will he come off the bench? I'm not sure. But Castlehaven Mallow, it's an interesting enough pairing there, as is Newcestown and Valley Rovers.
Yeah, kind of for Castlehaven. I was talking to Mike Hurdy for a piece for Thursday Southern Star, and obviously the talk of the 3 in a row was there because Castlehaven are going for the 3 in a row, like they're back-to-back County Premier Senior Football Champions. No Haven team has ever won the 3 in a row, and they came close. Well, they had a chance, back in 2014 after winning in 12 and 13, but lost to Carby Rangers. I think it was in the 4th round that year. So this is a chance for this current group of Castlehaven players to do what no other team from the club has ever done before. But it's quite difficult. And in terms of an opening game, this is tricky enough. Like Mallow got to the semi-finals last year. They beat the Bars in the group stage. Like you said, like Sean McDonald, they have some good players there. And for Castlehaven, they're the kind of the victims of their own success in many ways. That they have so many players involved in county panels that they never have a full team during the league because, let's say, with the Cork footballers, you've Rory Maguire, you've Brian Hurley, you've Conor Maguire is in and around it. You've Conor Cahalane this year, then you've Jack Cahalane and Damon Cahalane with the Cork hurlers. You've Micheál Maguire with the Cork under 20s. You've so many different fellas involved with so many different teams that it's only come the championship where Haven get a full strength team back. But like you said, we don't know what the Haven team will look like until the weekend for the likes of Damon and Jack Cahalane. Like they'll obviously, you would think that they'll be back training with the Haven this week, but they haven't touched the football in how long, so it's kind of there's an opportunity for Mallow maybe to spring a surprise, but on the other hand, then Haven are just a seasoned outfit. Okay, the league didn't go too well for them, flirted with relegation for a bit, but this is a championship. This is what this Haven team wants. So you probably expect Haven to get past that, and then look at the other game, Newcestown Valley's huge game for both. Huge game for both. Win that, set you up with it, getting out to the group. Lose it, and all of a sudden you're looking at a tough games against Mallow and Castlehaven coming up. So it's an interesting group, but you'd have to fancy Haven to top it.
You would do, yeah, and hopefully Castlehaven do get over the line against Mallow. Will be a difficult game, but we'll see what happens. Another game, obviously, we're going to Group 2 now, and we have probably the game of the weekend in this group on Saturday at 7:30 in Bandon. It is between Clonakilty and St. Finbarr's, a repeat of the Division 1 decider, which the Bars won 120-215 a few weeks back. In the other group game, Carby Rangers come up against Carrigaline on Sunday, Newcestown at 7:30 as well, which, to be honest, is a very crucial game for both sides. Again, as Kieran mentioned with the Valleys and Newcestown game, that sort of game has the sort of same feel. Lose that, you're looking down the barrel of potential relegation playoff. Win it, and you could sneak into the top 2 place. But Clon and the Bars, that is an appetising game. Obviously, Stephen Sherlock is there for the Bars. Brian Hayes, I don't know, will he come on or things like that for the Bars? Maybe Eaton Toomey will as well. Clon probably have a full strength team. I was hearing Dan Peat is not going to be available for this game, so that is a blow for Clonakilty. You have Maurice Shanley there, you have Darrow Shea, who was in very good form during the league. So look, Clon will fancy their chances against a very good St. Finbarr's team. It is a game to look forward to.
Yeah, huge game, the Bars and Clan, because we're looking at the last couple of years in the Premier Senior Football Championship. We have the big three. We've Haven, the Bars, and Emo. They've been sharing the county title over the last couple of years. Clan were kind of back, it was a 2021, got to the final, lost to the Bars that year. So they've kind of been there or thereabouts, but they haven't reached kind of hit those heights since. But look at them in the Division 2 last year in the league, came up into Division 1, had a super Division 1 this year, got to the league final, only to lose to the Bars after extra time. But Stephen Sherlock kicked the 18 points that day. Like that's just off the charts, you know. So if Sherlock kicks 18 points again on this weekend, the Bars are going to win that game, you know. So Clan obviously know who the danger man is, but I think this is a good test for us and a good kind of guide to see just where this Clonakilty team is right now. Will they be a team in the mix to get to the business end, like people expected they might be? Or I think we learn a lot more about them. But you mentioned too that Ross Carbery-Carrigaline game is huge. It really is a massive game when you consider that the Bars and Clon are the other two teams in that group. So for Ross, I was at the Division 2 final against Knockdegree there a couple of weeks ago when Knockdegree actually won. And even talking to Seamus Hayes after, like he was saying, we've work to do ahead of that Carrigaline game, because he can see the importance of it too, because that if Ross can win this game, it's almost a relief, you know, because it gives you a chance at trying to beat a Clan or the Bars in the weeks to come. But you're almost kind of, you're not putting the bed in any relegation worries, but giving yourself a good chance. But lose that game, and you're like, oh God, look who's coming down the line. So it's a big game for both teams and for Carrigaline as well. And I suppose we have the West Cork interest in Carrigaline with Brian O'Driscoll, the former Cara footballer, who's done so well since he joined them last season. So that's a huge game. I know the Bars and Clan game is probably the game of the weekend, but in terms of importance in what the next couple of weeks will hold, I think that Ross Carrigaline game is massive.
It's a huge game, all right, and two massive games in its own right as well, and definitely looking forward to those. And just to mention, Group 3 contains Nemo Rangers, Ballincollig, St. Michael's and Douglas in a very much city-based kind of a group there. Nemo play Ballincollig on Friday night to open the championship up in the Premier Senior grade. In Senior A, there's two West Cork sides again in the same group when they were in the same group last season as well, and that is Donny's and O'Donovan Rossa, joined by Bishopstown and Baylaw and Gearig. So Bishopstown face the Donnies on Saturday at 7:30 in Iskeen this weekend, and Baylaw and Gearig play against O'Donovan Rossa in Bantry on Sunday evening at 7:30 as well. Quite an interesting group, this one, I suppose, Kieran. Donnies reached the semi-finals last year, Bishopstown reached the quarters. Baylaw and Gearig are normally a difficult side to play against, and O'Donovan Rossa have new management this season under Gene Howerhan. So quite an interesting group, that.
It is, and even looking at Division 2 of the County Football League, Donnies and Skib both finished on the same points. They both won the same amount of games, 5. They both lost the same amount of games. So there was little choose between them in the County League. And the actual game they played then, that was back on June 8, and it was Donnies that beat O'Donovan Rossa by 318 to 120. So kind of quite a high scoring game. I suppose of the two, like Donnies have been pushing the last couple of years in the Senior A Football Championship under Declan Dwyer. Like they've a really good attack there, the likes of obviously Fionn Hurley and Mark Buckley, fellas like that, you know, kind of they're kind of an experienced team, a young team but an experienced team at the same time, whereas Skib are the last couple of years haven't got out of the group, so they're kind of looking for progress from that point of view. So it's going to be quite interesting for both teams. Obviously, trying to get a win this weekend is paramount. But that Senior A grade match is always so competitive. Like trying to call a winner this early in the season is almost impossible.
Yeah, exactly. So, and even looking at the other groups there, Group 1, Aero, Kanturk, Newmarket and Kilshannig. Kilshannig obviously coming up for Premier Intermediate. And in Group 2, you have Knocknagree, who won the Division 2 game over Carbery Rangers. As Kieran mentioned, Kilnamatra, Fermoy and Clyde Rovers. So that is the Senior A grade, a very interesting grade to look at in the next number of weeks. In the Premier Intermediate grade, there are 3 different West Cork teams in 3 different groups. So in Group 1, you have Ahabullogue, Nemo Rangers second team, and Ada joined by Bantry Blues. In Group 2, you have Bandon in that group, along with Naomh Vaughan, Rockchapel and Glanmire. And in Group 3, you have Kishkame, Eve Lera and Macroom joining Castletown Bear. So the games for the West Cork teams. Bantry Blues have a very tough game, first of all, against Ahabullock, who lost the final last year to Kilshannig. They play on Saturday at 7:30 in Ballingeary. In Group 2, obviously, it's on Saturday as well. Bandon against Glanmire in Ballincollig at 3:30 on Saturday. And then in Group 3 on the same day as well, Castletown Bear play Macroom in Ockaville at 7:30. So quite interesting games there. I think the pick of the bunch there, Kieran, Ahabullock against Bantry Blues. Ahabullock obviously reached the final last year. Bantry around this area have some decent enough players as well, so and have been competitive in this grade, to be fair, over the last number of years. So an interesting game there.
It is Bantry can knock at the door kind of in previous seasons. They kind of disappointed a bit in the league this year, so it'll be interesting to see can they pick up their form. I know they have a couple of injuries, and that's probably not where you want to be at this stage going into a really tough opener. Bandon too will be an interesting match to see how they get on. Like their hurlers did a really good county football league, so can they take the momentum off that into the new likes of Castletown Bear and Macroom as well this weekend? So they're really interesting games. But I will be interested to see how Bandon get on, because we've talked so much about Newcestown being able to juggle so well, kind of Premier Senior hurling and football. But we saw in the league this year that Bandon managed it. The hurlers and the footballers both won promotion from their respective leagues. So it'll be interesting to see. I'd be interested to see, can Bandon take that form into the Premier Intermediate Football Championship.
Exactly. So, and moving down to the Intermediate A Football Championship, again, different groups, all of West Cork teams in this grade. So in Group 1, you have Adrigole joined by Glanworth, Balnora and St. Finbarr's second team. In Group 2, you have Gabriel Rangers joined by Mitchelstown, Drumtariff and Kildare. And in Group 3, Island Rovers in a very difficult group there against Borbui, St. Vincent's and Kilmurray. The opening round games are Ahabullock facing against Glanworth in Courtford on Saturday at 2:30. Gabriel Rangers are playing against Mitchelstown on Saturday at 7:30 in Ahiole. They're playing Mitchelstown, Gabriel Rangers. And then in Group 3, you have Borbui, last year's Intermediate A finalists, coming up against the side that came down from Premier Intermediate. That's Island Rovers, of course. That game is on Saturday in Inchigeela at 5:30. I think Island's the very interesting one, Kieran. Obviously, they've gone down through the grades for a long time now. They were Premier Senior in 2021. Now in 2025, they're down in Intermediate A. And that is not an easy group. Borbui reached the final last year, could have easily won it against Glanmire. Kilmurray were Munster Junior champions. And St. Vincent's have some decent players, the likes of Blake Murphy on that team. So it's not going to be an easy group for Ireland, but their league form could suggest that they are improving a small bit.
Yeah, because like you said there, go back 2021, Ireland were Premier Senior team, but it's been relegation after relegation, and they find themselves in the fourth tier of Cork club football now, and they also suffered relegations in the county leagues in the last couple of years, and that's how they found themselves in Division 5 this season. But it was just great to see Ireland winning games in the county league, and they finished fourth. Gabriel's and Kilmurray both went up, did 16 points. Balnora was second and 14 points. Then you had Island Rovers on 11 points. So for Ireland to get back winning games, I think was quite important, because they needed to stop the slide. I think that was crucial. Kind of we've seen them just slip through trapdoor after trapdoor, so they stopped the slide, and hopefully now just a bit of stability. I don't think they have to go out and win the county this year, but just stop that slide down. They're not been helped by a lot of injuries. I know you were talking to the manager for Peaceful Thursday, Southern Star, and they'll be without the likes of Dan McOwen this weekend. Peter Driscoll's done his cruise shit, he was captain of the Cork under-20 team back in 2019, I think it was, so and they have a couple of long-term injuries as well, so they've been unfortunate in that sense, but it'll be just, the hope is that Ireland can just not get stuck in another relegation battle, that hopefully win one or two games, even get to the knockout stages and see where that goes. Gabriel's are quite interesting too. They've been a team on kind of thereabouts the last couple of years. Back-to-back promotions in the county leagues as well. Mark Cronin, the evergreen Mark Cronin, is still leading the line there. Like he's some man for one man to kind of keep going. There was talk at the end of last year that he was going to hang up the boots, but that's obviously been put on the long finger. So Gabriel's are kind of one to keep an eye on as well. They'll hope to kick on, because they've been close at those last couple of years. So yeah, plenty of West Cork interest in this championship match. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and then the Premier Junior Championship, there's only one West Cork team, and that is from the area of Beara. That is Oran. They play Canavi this weekend on Sunday at 7:30 in Dunmanway. They're in a group as well as Camogie. They're in with Ballyesmond and St. Nick's, so a difficult enough group for Oran. But they did reach the knockout stages of this grade in the last 2 seasons. And before then, they've struggled to play championship games more so, Oran. So it is crucial for them to keep progressing, I'd imagine.
It is, and even being in the county championship, I think it's important for Oran because you're getting those competitive games in the county structure, and you're against kind of top class or high class opposition at that grade, at Premier Junior level. If you look at St. James's, who've now come back down to the Junior A ranks here in Carbery, they were up Premier Junior for the last couple of years, got relegated last season, they lost to St. Nick's, and now they're back into the Carbery Junior A Football Championship, which also throws in this weekend. And the route for St. James to get back up to Premier Junior, that's hard. That's hard. You have to try and kind of navigate your way through the Carbery Championship first, then you're going into the county rounds and trying to get your way through that. So any team up in the Premier Junior grade will desperately try to stay there, because the route back there is so hard and it's so long, because you have to effectively win 2 championships to get up there. So for Oran, obviously they look to kick on, but they just want to stay up in that grade,
Yeah, exactly. So, and we'll see what happens with Oran in the championship this year. We'll take a quick break now, and after the break, we'll be talking to Saoirse McCarthy on the Cork Camogie team.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So welcome back to the podcast, and in a while we'll be chatting to Saoirse McCarthy before Cork's All-Ireland Camogie Championship semi-final against Waterford this weekend. That's at 5 p.m. in Nowlan Park. And I suppose, Kieran, we talked about the hurlers, falling flat on their face, but the Camogie team, there is a genuine expectation that they will get over the line against Waterford this weekend. They're going for a first 3 in a row since the early 1970s. So the major question is, can they do it? They look to be in a very good place at the moment.
Yeah, and we've spoken about this a lot on this podcast, about this Cork Camogie team is the best inter-county team from Cork at the moment. The results prove that. Back-to-back All-Ireland champions, winning the league, kind of winning the Munster Championship when it's on. Obviously it wasn't on this year, go over that kind of Scots controversy. This is a team that knows how to win, and they've really represented Cork so well over the last couple of years. And it's just such a talented group that have come together, and if they can achieve the 3 in a row, that would just be remarkable. They've passed every test that's been asked of them this year, and the next challenge comes against Waterford on obviously this Saturday in the semi-final. It's a Waterford team that Cork beat in the outset of the league. They should have met in that Munster final, but that was postponed. But Cork will be favourites going into this game. But this team can carry that mantle so easily, because they're so experienced. They've won every type of game over the last couple of years. Kind of from a tight All-Ireland final against Galway last year to the year before. They actually hammered Waterford in the All-Ireland final. I think Amy O'Connor even got a hat-trick that day. So this is a Cork team that knows how to win big games, that they have delivered, and you'd back them to do the same. And just actually to pick up on something that I was on Twitter during the week, and someone replied to one of my tweets saying, for Cork fans, keep the flags out because the Cork Camogie team is still in action. And I was like, 100%, what a great point. You look around the county now, there's flags hanging off all windows, outside houses, everything, kind of everyone got behind the hurlers. But just remember, the Cork Camogie team are on the cusp of achieving something special. So please keep your flags flying. Please keep those red and white colours out there, because this Cork Camogie team deserves all the support they can get for what they've done over the last couple of years. Like I said, they've been the most successful Cork inter-county team. They're just incredible ambassadors for Cork GA. They're on the cusp of something special. So while it didn't work out for the hurlers or for the ladies footballers or for the Cork footballers, get behind the Cork Camogie team.
Exactly so. And we will talk about to Saoirse McCarthy about the game right now. So I'll be joined on the podcast this week by Saoirse McCarthy as Cork prepare for their All-Ireland Camogie semi-final this weekend against Waterford in Nowlan Park. Suppose, first of all, Saoirse, All-Ireland semi-finals, normally an exciting time, obviously, for the Camogie team, being in the last 4. So you looking forward to the game?
Yeah, excited now. I feel like it's been a really long time since we played a match, so just excited to get back out in the field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I suppose in a way, like even taking it out from Camogie, the Cork hurlers losing last weekend, is that kind of an indication that you do have to perform at your best, even if Waterford would have been probably like you beat Waterford lead by 8 points. But the result last weekend shows anything can happen. So you really have to be on your A game, I'm guessing.
100%. I think it definitely opened a few eyes. Not that they weren't open anyway, but like it really re-emphasized that like nothing is won until the final whistle is gone. So 100%. If anything, it just probably focused us a little bit more in terms of we need to go after this now, and it was probably more motivation to just go out and do it and win the game. Hopefully now on Saturday we can produce a performance good enough to do that and get into an All-Ireland final, and that's what it's all about.
To be fair to you, your recent record in semi-finals has been absolutely excellent. You have four semi-final wins in a row. You're going for a fifth this weekend. So like, is that kind of a good omen to have good momentum in semi-finals up until this point?
Yeah, I think Ger always says that semi-finals are there to be won, and I think that's kind of it. It's a stepping stone. It's just the next game, really. We played 4 games this year already, and we took each one as it came, and this is no different. It just so happens to be a semi-final. Um, yeah, look, obviously you want to get into an All-Ireland final. That's where you want to be. Last couple of years we've been lucky. Like we in 23 there now we beat Galway by, was it a point or two? It was a really close game. Um, like they've been some hairy moments in the semi-finals, but look, they're there to be won, and hopefully we can do that.
And look at the group stages as well. Like you've averaged a score of 421 and conceded an average of 1-7. Like you had some big beatings at the group stages. Is that a good omen to have as well? To have some very good wins coming into this, and of course winning the league title earlier on in the year.
Yeah, look, the year is going well for us. We're performing well, and look, obviously there's always room for improvement, and we'll try and get better for the next day out. We've been training hard over the last couple of weeks since the group games finished up. So, look, hopefully we can produce an even better performance on Saturday. Look, we've been happy with the year to date. Look, it's hard not to be. We've won the league. Probably disappointed not to have the Munster final on. And then championship is going well for us so far. But look, there's nothing won yet in terms of All Irelands, and we're fully aware of that too. So, look, it's all well and good winning games in the group stages, but if you can't back it up and win in the semi final, then it's worth nothing really. So we're fully aware of that, and we're just going to go after it, take it game by game.
You talked about wanted to win the Munster title there. You're playing Waterford, who you were supposed to play, obviously, in the Munster final. So is that an onus to go on and win that game as well, to prove that you are a better team than Waterford going to this weekend, to make a final too, and to prove you're the best team in Munster in a way?
Um, Not really. I suppose that's dead and buried now. We're just trying to win in All Ireland. And that's no different to every other year. It feels like a long time ago now. Back in May, started end of May, was it? I can't remember. But yeah, I think that's all a bit dead and buried, and you just treat every opponent the same. Really, we want to go out and play to our best, and that's what we're going to try and do on Saturday.
Talked about wanted to go on and win the All Ireland. Like Cork haven't won it three in a row in All Ireland titles since the early 1970s. So that's, I'm sure, a record that the group and the management, of course, would definitely want.
Yeah, to an extent, like that's what's on the line this year. But like I said, like if we were going for one in a row or three in a row, it makes no odds. You're starting every year wanting to go out and win in All Ireland, and I suppose the goal doesn't change based on winning the previous two. They're dead and buried. Like I said, they're done and dusted. You can't change them. So, it's just on to the next one. Obviously, it would be an achievement that we would love to have as a group. But probably it's something that we wouldn't talk about that often. It would just be next game and take every game as it comes. And I think we might have fallen into that trap of focusing on the three in a row in the past, and um, I think we've learned from it, and we're a better team now for it. Definitely not looking past Waterford at the weekend. They're going to be coming out of the traps. They had a great game in Croke Park 2 weeks ago against Clare, and like I don't expect nothing different from them this weekend. I think they're going to really come out all guns blazing. So definitely not looking past them anyway.
Like even like in defence, you haven't conceded much goals. In attack, you're scoring a lot as well. How do we keep that consistency going? Because it's very impressive at this stage of the year.
Yeah, I think we have our own targets that we want to hit in every game and every quarter. So, like, if we're not doing that, then we're not playing to our fullest potential. So we, no matter who we're playing, we respect every team that we play, and we'll play to our best, no matter what. So our defense is unbelievable. Like, I think it was Emily was on a 10 game streak without conceding a goal there, until the Tipp game. So she hadn't conceded since the All-Ireland semi, or the group game against Galway, in 2024, which is an unbelievable achievement, especially at senior and county level. Um, and like the backs in front of her are a testament to themselves as well. So look, we're such a strong panel, and I think the competition for places is a key there as well. And that, like, if I'm not doing my job, there'll be someone else to take the jersey off me and do it for me. And same as is if we have unbelievable subs to come in and close out games and score those extra few points, that'll make the scoreboard look a bit better. But yeah, I think it's just the panel. It's a full team effort, and that's what it's going to take on Saturday now to get over Waterford as well.
That's probably been the most impressive thing about Cork over the last few years, building a panel. Obviously, yourself being one of the main players in the Cork team and a few others as well. But you have players such as Clodagh Finn stepping up and scoring 4-7 in the championship so far. Katrina Mackey's doing well, Orla Callan. So the whole panel are really contributing. And that probably is an indication of a sign of a really, really good squad there.
Yeah. I think the last couple of years we really put an emphasis on like having impact subs to bring on and finish out games, and it has stood to us in the past. You look at even the All Ireland final last year, you had Saoirse coming on, scoring, Clodagh coming on. Emma Murphy was years coming on and finishing out games for us. So like, the importance of our subs is crucial to finishing games and winning matches. So that's no different this year. And thankfully, like you said, Claude is having a stormer of a year, and she was probably one of those impact subs, and now she's in the toss up for the starting 15 all year. So yeah, it's a lovely environment to be a part of, but the pressure's on as well, within your own camp, to keep your jersey or to get your jersey. So it's competitive.
Talk about the competitive side of the team as well. But at this stage, Saoirse, you are probably one of the main players in the Cork team at the moment. Like going back even to 2018, being part of that intermediate team and winning an All Ireland intermediate title in Croke Park, and up to now you're one of the most established Cork players in the team at the moment. What's that kind of transition like to being one of the youngsters in the team to being one of the most experienced players?
It's tough. Like I remember 2019, 2020, didn't get a whole pile of games, was frustrated, didn't know what else I could possibly do. And, I think, but it's in that time when you're younger and you're new to the panel, you want to play games, but you also have to understand that, like, these girls have put in the work for years and years before you as well, and have earned their space, and that's what you need to do. You need to gain respect and earn your place on the team. So it is tough while you're in it. Definitely, it can be frustrating. There can be days where you're upset that you're not getting games and you're traveling around the country, but it's just literally staying with it and trusting that you learn, and asking questions, I think, is really important as well. Like learning from the girls that have done it before you, and asking management what they want of you. These kind of things, just to help you keep growing as a player. Like, because you're never finished. You're never the finished article, and that's, I think, something I learned in those years being a younger player, and something I still do today, is continuously trying to get better and learn, so that I can keep the jersey, because it's never yours. You're just borrowing it until the next person steps up. So that's probably something that I had to learn.
And to even look at the scores and stuff like that as well. I know Amy O'Connor takes the majority of the frees, but you've taken some frees yourself as well. I know you take a lot for your club, Courcey Rovers, in the club championship, but is that a role you enjoy at county level at some point in the game, taking frees?
Yeah, I do. I enjoy it. It's a nice little settler sometimes if you can just pop over a score. Um, I was taking them with the college this year as well, with TU Dublin in the Ashburn. So felt practice probably going into this year as well. But I was taking them with the club. So it takes a little bit of extra effort outside of training hours and stuff, but definitely a role that I enjoy.
You talked about playing in the Ashburn Cup there in inter-county with Cork, obviously club with courses as well. Like, how do you manage it all? Like, it's difficult in a sense, but at the same time, playing camogie on a daily basis, I'd imagine, is enjoyable for yourself.
Definitely, I think it has to be enjoyable as well. That like you're going out and it's a privilege that you get to go out and play camogie or run around the field with sticks with your friends, and that's the way I look at it. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you lose a match. Um, like there's a phrase there, nobody died. And there's a lot worse things going on in the world at the moment. And the biggest worry I have at the moment is an All-Ireland semi-final on Saturday, then we're fine, because like I said, the worst thing that can happen is you lose a match. Obviously it's devastating and there's a lot of effort goes into it, but you have to enjoy it. You're training 4 or 5 nights a week with your best friends, and there's memories there that I'll cherish forever that I've had through camogie. So definitely enjoy it as much as I possibly can.
Just finally as well, like the friendships you make as well around camogie and being at the latter stages of the championship as well, where obviously the camogie semi-finals are streamed live on RT. Like, it's absolutely brilliant in a sense in all aspects. Like, you're enjoying your time on the pitch, you're playing with your best friends, and as well as that, you get great exposure on RT as well. Like, it's brilliant all around at this stage of the year to play inter-county camogie in a way.
Yeah, but the games should be broadcasted because like this weekend the games are going to be. I think they're going to be really exciting games. The first game as well. I can't call it. I don't know which way it's going to go, and it should be a cracker. Probably won't see the end of it, but I'll have to watch it back. Look, it'll be an exciting weekend, and that's where we deserve to be, is having that platform, and hopefully we'll get a good crowd now down in Nowlan Park on Saturday, and that's what it's all about, is getting out and support. See the crowds that the lads got there over the summer with the hurling, so hopefully if we got a fraction of that we'd be happy.
Exactly. So anyway, Saoirse, wish you the best of luck this weekend against Waterford this weekend in Nowlan Park, and thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Thanks a million, Matthew.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
So it is that time of the week again where we look at what's in this Thursday's Southern Star. So what should our readers expect this week here?
I'm a bit biased, Matthew, at this stage, but this really is a top-class Southern Star Sports section. Like, we a lot of work goes into the Star Sports every week to make sure it can be the best possible product that it can be, and I think we've knocked it out of the park again this week. Obviously, we've coverage of the All-Ireland hurling final. I know it's kind of depressing reading for Cork fans, but it's important that it's covered too, and we've lots of different opinions in there from various writers. So it's kind of as the post-mortem continues, check out Thursday Southern Star for our thoughts on what we think went wrong and what happens next. Obviously, with the county championships thrown in this weekend, we have a lot of interviews in there. I spoke to Michael Hurley of Castlehaven. Matthew, you've spoken to Tim Sullivan, the Adrigal manager, spoken to the Ireland manager. I caught up with Alan O'Shea, who's back in charge of St. James's, who are down in the Carbery Junior A Football Championship. I also spoke with John Hayes, who's manager of the Carbery Rangers junior football team that won the County Junior Football League last week, and are going up to the Division 7 next year. So we've plenty of championship coverage to kind of keep our readers entertained. Also, the All-Ireland Minor Ladies Football Final is on this Saturday, and Cork take on Dublin, and captained by Skibbereen teenager Ali Tobin. So we've a preview of that, as well as a preview of the Cork Waterford All-Ireland Camogie semi-final. On top of that, there's a lot of interesting reads. I caught up with Kieran Roberts. He's a former Bandon grammar student and played at Bandon Rugby Club, who's now playing his rugby over in Portugal. It's just a really interesting story, because Kieran's story kind of shows that there is life outside Ireland for aspiring rugby players, and he's forging a really good career for himself over there. Also, huge congratulations to Nicola Tuttle. She just keeps on delivering. She won a silver medal at the European Under-23 Championships last week, and the Kilbritain woman was Ireland's first ever athlete to medal in the field event of these championships. So huge congrats to Nicola there. Also, looking at road bowling for a second, I have an interview with Brian O'Driscoll from Jimmer League. He won the All-Ireland Junior B title at Castletown just last week, and he's a great story in terms of just what winning this meant to him, because the year that Brian was born, back in 2003, his father got to the same final but didn't win it, and sadly Brian's father passed away 2 years ago. So it means an awful lot to Brian now to win the trophy and the cup that his father missed out on. And also sticking with bowling for a second, there's a huge Senior Ladies Championship final this week where Hannah Sexton comes up against Hannah Cronin. And there's even more. Looking at soccer for a second, the West Cork under-16 schoolboys team are taking on Manchester United at Super Cup Northern Ireland next week. Like, what a glamour game. That's incredible, you know. And they're also taking on Rangers, so we have a preview of that. So, as you can see, Matthew, Thursday Southern Star is that.
Be interesting to see who Kieran will show for their Man United or West Cork there, but we shall see. As usual, if you are further afield or can't make it to the shops, you can subscribe to the Southern Star e-paper and get the Southern Star on your laptop, tablet or phone. Just go to www.southernstar.ie/subscribe, enter your details, and you'll get an exact replica of the newspaper for less than €2 per week. As always, thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast, and thanks again to our sponsors at Access Credit Union. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back again next week. Until then, take care.